What's up? I'm Jacob Blitzo, your Elixir mentor, and I want to welcome you to our first kickoff video of our Ash framework project. We are going to build a task manager app, like a Kanban board style app with tasks and projects, multi-tenancy, so you can belong to multiple organizations, all the cool stuff. Watch the episode 0 for the little teaser video. In this video, first, I want to jump into what is Ash. So we're going to just pull up documentation here, and I'm going to read straight from the hex docs. So what is Ash? Ash is an opinionated declarative application framework that brings the batteries included experience to Elixir. It shines when building web apps, APIs, and services, but can be used for any kind of Elixir application. It integrates with the best that the Elixir ecosystem has to offer, often used with Phoenix and Postgres SQL. Slotting directly into standard Elixir code base, Ash is built for velocity at day 1, but also for maintainability at year 5, a place where many frameworks and tools leave you high and dry. And I think just like with today's video, the velocity at day 1 is going to be proven. What we're going to be doing today is setting up our project and getting password authentication working. And in this video, we're going to just jump in and go to ash-hq.com, ash-hq.com. And what's really cool is they have like a little script builder. So we can just like select what we want our project to have, right? And it gives us a cool little script that we can run straight from our terminal, and it creates the project for us. So like you can add Ash to an existing app if you wanted to. We're obviously making a new project, and then we will put our project name here, and I'm just going to call this task manager. Feel free to call it whatever you want. This one's super creative, I know. And then we're going to click on advanced options. And we can go ahead and click on, everything that we want here. So let's see. We want Phoenix Live View. Let's see. We're not going to care. We're not going to add GraphQL. We're not going to make this an API or TypeScript, but we want Postgres. We want password authentication. I'm going to unclick Magic Link. Feel free to add it if you want. Go for it. This whole project, I'm just going to do password auth to keep things a little more simple. Obviously, if you're building off this project, do whatever you want. Let's see. I'm going to include Tidewave just in case. Like, it can be pretty helpful. And usage rules is awesome. We're going to include that. I don't know how much I'm going to actually be using these during this series, but they're things worth having in the project. We might need to troubleshoot or debug, and these things will be very helpful. All right, and then let's see. We're not going to need any of this. We can keep live debugger and admin UI. Admin UI is really nice for having like fast interfaces to, do CRUD and read CRUD actions, I guess I can just say. It's nice. We're not going to be diving into it, but include it in the project or don't. It doesn't matter. But it is pretty nice, and it's really easy to use. It's just like adding a line to our, I believe it's on the resource that you add it. It could be the domain. I don't know. We'll find out. But anyways, so we select everything that we want: Phoenix Live View, Phoenix, Postgres, password, Tidewave, usage rules, live debugger, blah, blah, blah. And we get this awesome little script to run, right? So we're going to hit copy. And then I'm going to pull up my terminal. I am in a folder that I want my project in, and I'm going to hit paste. It did not copy. Let's try that again. Come on. We're just going to copy it. All right, let's try this again and paste. And now when I hit enter, it's going to generate our project. And also include password authentication right out of the box. Okay, so that is done for us. And let's see. I believe, yeah, so it already created our database, ran migrations, all that good stuff. Oh, I should rewind, guys. I kind of forgot. You're going to want to make sure you have your Postgres running, and I have Postgres running on Docker desktop. And so I already have localhost there. So I was able to find my Postgres database and create our database. I have other videos. I have one other video. Actually, I think I have a couple videos for setting that up. I'll see what I can do about linking that. But you are going to want to have Postgres running before we run this command, because it automatically did our migrations and all that good stuff, which is really cool. And in fact, let's just go ahead and open up DataGrip and we can verify that. So I have localhost here. I think I have to refresh it, and then we'll add task manager dev. It's already added. And then we'll find our public tables, and we're going to find that we have our user table. All right, and that's just a basic email hash password confirmed at, and then our tokens, which are our authentication tokens for authentication, and we'll jump into that in a second. So we have this, we see that it's working. That is awesome. You guys can use whatever database tools you want. I really like DataGrip by JetBrains, and this is usually how I manage, my databases. I'm going to shrink that, and let's open up. Actually, I feel like we should do what is let's see, git checkout -b episode 01 setup. We'll make a branch, and we'll do like a git add, git commit, and this will just be initial commit. And then I'll be able to push this up, and we'll have it right there on our GitHub. It'll be awesome. Let's open up our IDE. I use VS Code, so code space, and we're in our project. All right, so I'm gonna full screen this. I'll make it a little bigger. That's probably fine. So this command, creating this project, did quite a bit. And one thing I want to point out is, let's see, if I open up task manager, lib task manager, you're going to see accounts. So it created a domain called accounts, and the domain has two resources. We have our user and our token. And one thing, like, we'll get more into this throughout building this app, but you want to kind of know that a domain, it groups resources, kind of like how we can have multiple ecto schemas share like a context file in Phoenix. Okay, but it's not quite like context in Phoenix is kind of like our CRUD operations. This is just kind of grouping our resources. And if we go into our accounts folder here, you're going to see we have user and token, and these are our resources, and resources have some options. So you're going to see just some quick things. The name of our project here, so the OTP app. The data layer is important. The domain it belongs to, which is accounts. We were just in that, right? And by the way, just for the admin UI, that option is right here on the domain. I couldn't remember if it was domain or the resource. And then you see the data layer, which by default, well, because we selected Postgres, it's already set up to use Postgres. And then we already have authentication here. So that's pretty awesome. And then there's just some other authentication options right here. We don't really have to worry about them right now. And then strategies. So we have password, right? And then we also are able to reset password without token. And also, I apologize for these pop-ups. It's kind of annoying when everything's a little bigger. But then you can see that, we have, the Ash DSL here, just Postgres. The table being used by this resource is users. And then actions is kind of like actions are our CRUD operations essentially. So like we have a function here called get by subject, and it's a read operation. And as you go down, you can see that we have an update function here called change password, and then it has arguments you can pass in. So we can pass in the current password, and then we can pass in the new password and the password confirmation, right? So current password, new password, confirmation password. And then we have read functions like sign in with password, and that takes an email and password. So all this cool stuff. And then let's see, this is going to return a token when we sign in, which is, our just JSON web token, which we will use to authenticate a user, right? We can store it in our browser, and then we can use that token, and that token proves it's us every time we make a request. So all this is out of the box. Like, we don't have to do anything. Authentication's done. And then so we can sign in with token, and that's kind of just, it finds our user via the token. And we'll manually go through all this in just a second. I just want to show you. So we have all these actions. So register with password. We'll be able to use that shortly. We'll also use, let's see, we'll use, where is sign in? Did I go past it? Sign in. Yeah, sign in with password. We'll go through that. We'll use this all in the IEX shell just to make sure things are working and we can persist to our database. So this is pretty cool. And then as we scroll down, you'll see we have some policies in place, and the policies in place are authentication and stuff right now. We'll be jumping into these a little deeper with multi-tenancy control and roles, because we'll have like admins and just normal users. And so we'll be touching on all this stuff in a little bit. And then what I wanted to show you here is attributes. And this is kind of, this is like our schema, our fields in like an ecto schema, right? So we're going to have all of our fields, which are attributes, which are, basically just keys to a struct, right? So this is how the user data will be returned to us. We'll have like a struct with a key email, a hash password, and confirmed at. That's all we have right now. And then you can also see that this identities option here, emails are unique. So that's like setting a unique key on our migration. And a cool thing is, like, when you change this stuff, and we'll do this in the next video, we're going to be setting up the multi-tenancy and organization stuff. So we'll be going through like Ash code gen and all of that. And what's cool there is if we go to like our priv directory over here and go into repo, you'll see migrations are automatically being created with however we set up our resources. And then we also have resource snapshots, which is kind of an Ash thing, but it keeps track of all the changes throughout. And we're not going to dive too deep into that yet. Maybe we'll dig into it in a future video, but that's what's happening. So mix ecto migrate, we'll run our migration files, and that's how we create, database tables.
Hey, I'm Kimberly with Elixir Mentor. Jacob recently added recruitment services to help companies hire pre-vetted Elixir devs. I help with company outreach, so if you're hiring, I may be reaching out, or you can connect with us anytime at elixirmentor.com.
All right, and then let's see, we have our token, which is the same, very similar to our user, with just different fields, right? So we have different actions and different fields. We have like revoke token, revoke JTI, we have store token, we have all this stuff, and then we have our attributes, which is our token schema. All right, all this really cool stuff. And then what we're going to want to do right now is I just want to kind of mess around and make sure this stuff works. So if we like kick off a IEX shell here, IEX space dash capital S mix, it'll take us into the IEX shell. All right. And I just realized I should probably make this bigger for everyone. All right. And I'm in the way. Okay. So we're in our IEX shell, and basically what we're going to do is we'll just manually call like what our login form would call or our registration form when we're creating a new user. So if we did something like task manager dot accounts dot user, this is the resource we want to do. I'm just going to hit enter for clarity, and then we can pipe in ash.change set, and our change set, we're going to do dot, and we're going to call a for underscore create, and the function that we're going to call is register with password. And if we go back to our user resource, if we find register with password, right here, you can see that it's a create type. So that's the for create. And then we're passing in the atom register with password. And it looks like we're going to need an email, which is a string. And we're also going to need a password, which is a string. And then we also need password confirmation, which is a string. And then just that should create a new account for us. All right, so now if we have to do register with password. So that's calling that action in our resource. And then we have to pass in our map. So we have to pass in a map of our arguments, and we need an email. And we'll just say, I don't know, Jacob, I don't want a capital, Jacob at first.com. I'm the first user. And then we need a password. And our password, it can be anything. We'll just do Jacob123. And then we need a confirmation. So that is password underscore confirmation. And we just have to make sure it matches. So Jacob123. All right. And then we can close off our map here, close off the function. And I'm going to hit enter just to keep everything clean. All right, so we get our change set back, and now we're going to pipe in ash create. So ash dot create, and we'll do the bang. So there's the bang, and just for this, so we already have built-in authentication policies, and so you have to have an auth token and all these things, and prove who we are to do this. On this time, we're going to pass in an authorize, so you can do authorize question mark, because it's a Boolean that we're passing in, and we're going to say false. So we're going to create a record, but bypass the built-in auth policy for now. And this is just kind of so we can manually create a user. And now when I hit enter, there we go. We get, we successfully created our user. And then if we pop up our DataGrip, on user, we'll refresh it. There we go. So we have our user ID, email, our hashed password, and we're not confirmed. Sweet. And then we should also have some tokens created. Yeah. So we have a token created for a user, or the purpose user. And then we also have a confirmation, confirm new user purpose. And we'll go through. So basically, depending on what the token is used for, we can change the purpose. And so you can narrow down what you allow certain JSON web tokens to be used for, right? But that's beside the point right now. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so let's go back and now we'll manually let's see. We can go through we can test our sign in with password function, and then we can also show you how we can get a user from our auth token, right? And that's kind of how the browser will work, right? The browser will sign in, the browser will hold our auth token, and then we can use that auth token to always verify who we are. So we can actually look up a user with our token, okay? So let's shrink this again. What we want to do is we'll test our sign in with password to make sure that we can even get our user, right? So if I do task, what's going on here? If I do task manager dot accounts dot user again, that's our resource. And then we just want to pipe in, and we can do ash dot query, and then we can say dot for underscore read. And we pass in the atom, the name of our function on that action, or the name of the action, I should say. And that's going to be sign in with password. And then we want to send in our map, and our map is our email and password. So we're going to say Jacob at, it's not test, it's at first.com. And then our password is what was our password? Jacob 1123, I hope. Okay, so just this should be enough to authenticate us and give us an auth token back, right? So this is creating our query. Okay, so there's our query, and now we need to actually fetch it. We actually need to read. We have to basically, like, for Ecto, this would be like the repo.1, right? So we're going to now pipe in and say ash.read, and we're passing in this query, and we're just going to have to we have to say our authorize Boolean. So we're going to say authorize false to bypass the authorization policy. And there we go. So we were able to fetch our user. And I should take that back. I shouldn't say it's a repo one, right? We got a list back. So this is kind of like a repo all for this user. Now, if we want to actually like grab our token from this, it is in metadata under token. So what we can do is we'll pattern match here. So we'll say, let's see, we have our OK, and then we get back a list of users. And so let's see, we'll say we want our user because there's just one, it's ahead of the list, right? And we'll just set this equal to, let's see, this was V6. So we can just grab the response. I just realized you can't see me pointing at my screen. So V6 is the line like input 6. And all I'm doing is passing in the results into, we're pattern matching to the OK atom, and then we'll have user available here. So when I hit enter, now when I type user, we have our single user just like that. And so now that we have our user, we can now verify the token that was returned to us. And the way we can do that is grabbing our user. We can do ash authentication dot jwt dot verify, and we want to just pass in our token, and that can be found on user. And then we have underscore metadata, and then 2 more underscores dot token. So that's our token. And then we just need to pass in the project resource name, which is just an atom. So it's task underscore manager. And this will return basically 3 things to us. It'll return an OK response as long as it's successful. Our claims have our subject in them, and our subject is basically how we can, it's basically our user ID. It is our user ID with like, well, I'll show you. So I hit enter, we get three things back. We get our OK response, and then we get this map, and then we get our resource back. So this is our user resource, right? All right, so the important things here are my like purpose, right? The purpose of this token is for authenticating our user. And then the subject here is a user and the ID. So this is actually our user ID. So if we look at this and if we pulled up DataGrip, these are the same. So 440D and then 440D. Okay. And now what we can do is we can just pattern match. We can grab the claims out of this. So we're going to do the same thing we just did to grab our user out of the list. We're going to say, okay. And we want the claims and then the resource, which just say this is equal to V9. And that's taking this response, pattern matching and pushing it into these variables. So now if I just type claims, we have just our claims, and then we can pull out just our subject. So if I did claims and then in a list, because I can just do the key value call here, grab sub out of this, and we get just our subject. Behind the scenes, like when a token gets passed in, this is how we verify who it is, right? So we can do authentication dot subject to user, and all we're gonna do is pass in our subject here. So claims sub, and then close off that function call, and let's see what we get back. With auth subject to user claims undefined function authentication subject to user. Oh, we need to pass in our resource. It's arity2. So we're passing in our claims subject, and then we also need to grab our resource, which is our user, but we already pattern matched that, right? So there we go. So now we got back from our JWT, our JSON Web Token, we're able to actually grab our user. So we see our user ID, our email, and then the metadata. So that's pretty cool. A little sneak peek of how authentication works. And all of this was out of the box. We didn't even write code in this video. So I apologize. But we're off to a pretty good start. So we have authentication already working. And in the next video, we'll actually code. We'll be generating organizations and setting up multi-tenancy. And we'll probably be doing a little more IEX shell testing to verify how that stuff works. And then after that one, we'll do some UI and start getting caught up, because the whole series is going to be, you know, coding, some UI and live view, some UI and live view, and it'll be back and forth because we're building a really awesome app. So thanks again, guys, and I will see you in the next one.